Hey everybody, we're back with another video. So, wearing my Fantastic Four shirt, and I've kind of decided what I'm going to do with my YouTube, TikTok stuff, because the last video I posted was just Green Lantern number 10 review, just a single issue. So, I think what I'm going to do is probably, that one didn't get a lot of views, so I'll post the single issue comic book reviews on TikTok, because they get a decent amount of views, more than they would here. And they're a bit shorter. They can just I might do YouTube shorts or whatever. I haven't ever done those, but oh well. But then here will be longer, kind of off the cuff, like ranty type comic book nerd culture type videos. Anyway, I was on TikTok and I made a comment about one of these, and somebody said they were a terrible place to start. So, the front is the Lee Kirby first volume Marvel Masterworks. And then in the back here we have the Jonathan Hickman first volume. So, that brings me to today's topic. Because I was on TikTok, made a comment about the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four run, and somebody said like it was a terrible place to start. And I mean, yeah, I would agree, because it takes place during like Dark Reign, and Sue and Reed have 2 kids. So I mean, outside the movies, they've like never really had kids. They've like gotten married, and I mean, in the new Fantastic Four, there's a kid, but like we only ever get Franklin Richards, and Valeria is not. I don't think she's ever really been in like much media outside of the comics. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this volume. Norman Osborn is like a big figurehead, and Reed's kind of traveling through dimensions and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I definitely wouldn't start there, but I got it mostly because I'm not like super well versed in Fantastic Four, but I like them enough. I have the Lee Kirby stuff here. They were one of the first superhero teams I was introduced to. But overall, I'm like, okay, I like them. I know, enough about them. And one of my friends in college said, like, oh, the Jonathan Hickman run is, like, the best Fantastic Four run. So I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. But, yeah, it is not the best place to start. And that's, like, I think one of the bigger problems with comics. That's one thing I'd talk about in my single issue reviews is, like, every comic is somebody's first comic. And there's, a million places to start. There's decades of history and stuff. But, where do you start? There's Elseworld stories and stuff like that. If you want my opinion, I would say maybe, because there's movies, obviously. But again, those are their own separate universes. But you watch a movie. Maybe you like a character. I would say start with the character. And then go from there. What do you like about the character? Do you like, single, one-shot type stuff? Because, again, I started most of my stuff, like, I didn't have a comic book store in my area. I had YouTube videos, so I'd watch some of those. Again, there was the cartoons and stuff, but, like, I didn't really have a good place to start. Again, no stores or anything, so I watched some YouTube videos, found out what the people on there said, so then I would kind of, brainstorm. I went to a comic book store visiting my brother, and then I picked up some Ultimate Spider-Man, and then kind of went in there. But then again, if you get Ultimate Spider-Man, that's like its own self-contained story. You're not really like, you're running on a treadmill, basically. You're not like moving forward within the universe and stuff. But I would say, because again, even one of my coworkers, we talk about superheroes and stuff because they watch the movies, but like, admittedly, they've said it before, like, I don't really know where to start, and like, I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, yeah, that's valid. But that would be my main takeaway, would be like, probably start with like, you've watched the movie, like the Avengers, and you like Iron Man, so, you don't want to just start with like Demon in a Bottle or something, because that's crazy. You know, you watch maybe like a few YouTube videos about like the history and how he's created. And then again, even going back to that, we have, you know, do you start with Stan Lee stuff? Because, like, you know, I personally enjoy Stan Lee's writing. When you, like, read Spider-Man and he's like, "Hey there, true believers, it's Stan Lee. What's going on in the Marvel universe, the mighty Marvel world?" You know, it's fun. He has alliterative names for everybody. It's silly. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. He, you know, again, addresses the readers. It makes you feel like you're part of the story. But then again, like, we have stuff like, you know, the art style is not as, like, advanced, I guess. There's, you know, there weren't as many, like, techniques, and, you know, you can tell it's kind of older. Again, some of the writing's kind of older. There's, you know, a cultural barrier, so to speak. Not everything's as well defined and stuff as it is now. But at least for me, I would say, like, maybe start with like a one shot, maybe like a different universe. Like, again, there's the Ultimate Universe, stuff like that. Or again, if we're talking Spider-Man, there's Spider-Man Blue. Again, do you want to start with that? Maybe. Like, there's like some history stuff, but again, it is kind of just a well-contained single story, so that helps. Or of course, Batman's very popular. There's Batman Year One, pretty like self-contained story, goes over the history, the origins, or whatever. So, you know, again, it depends on what you're looking for. You definitely don't want to start with something like in the middle of the, you know, lore and stuff. You don't, you know, like if you started reading Daredevil and you just start with like Born Again or like the Kevin Smith run or something, where there's all this history with like Karen Page, and you're like, what's going on? Why is Karen Page looking for money? Like, why is she selling out Matt Murdock? Like, what the heck's going on? That would be kind of confusing. So, yeah, again, that's my recommendation. Again, it depends on the character and what you're trying to do. But I would say start with like some YouTube videos. And again, even in the videos, sometimes the creator will, like, you know, give you the history, and then they'll give you some good stories to start off with. And you go from there. Now, where do you buy them? That's another problem. I would say, I mean, again, the best places like, or the more popular places like Amazon or something. I try not to buy my comics from Amazon because that's a whole nother can of worms. I usually try to support the comic shops if at all possible. So there was one I was looking for, the Deadpool Batman team up, and I went to Third Eye Comics. Shout out to them. So, you know, look on, you know, the internet. Again, maybe even eBay, because I mean, I don't think there is like a, you know, giant corporation. But again, that would be like person to person. It depends on what you're looking for. Because again, like I said, I didn't have comic book stores around me when I was, you know, starting out. So that can be very difficult, like, you know, person in waters. But, you know, try to find a comic book store local if at all possible. You know, again, there are some like random antique stores maybe out there and stuff. So, again, that is a whole different field to go into. But, you know, start with a character. I would say watch some YouTube videos and then kind of go from there. Again, some people recommend, oh, don't watch the videos because you're, you know, messing up. You're taking from the creators and stuff. But again, like I said, do you have a store near you? No. Like, again, I had to watch videos because I didn't have anything else in my area to help out. So, like, I watched Comic Pop or, like, Variant Comics and stuff like that. They explain some of the history of the, you know, lesser known characters, stuff like that. And it helps out. Like, again, Variant, like, gives some nice reading material and stuff. Like, hey, check out this story, so on and so forth. Or again, even like places like Walmart and Target have like the occasional trade, so maybe try there. Again, I know you're not helping the store by shopping at Walmart, but if you're starting out, you're starting out. A gateway still helps, no matter how small it is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.